All right, welcome back to the program. In case you're just joining us, I'm afraid you've lost about close to 30 minutes of that, but you can go on our YouTube channel, you see that. Joining me right now is Dr. Hassan Mahmud, who is the Director of Monetary Policy Department at the Central Bank of Nigeria. Dr. Mahmud, good to see you this year. Welcome to the program. A happy New Year again, because the last time we saw was the last MPC.
Yeah.
For 2020. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. The morning after.
Yes.
The morning after the MPC.
Yeah.
In fact, when I saw the communique, I was like, this communique is seemingly, larger than other communiques.
Yeah.
Isn't so?
Yeah.
That was the right observation.
Yeah, it was.
This is heavy.
Yes, it was.
It was.
It was.
Why was it so?
The issues are heavy.
The issues are heavy.
The problems are heavy, and we need to also. It was deliberate because there was also need to enlighten the public, particularly the analysts and even the general public, on the challenges before the bank, and why the bank is taking certain, or the challenges before the committee, and why the committee is taking certain decisions. So it is important, the limitations of monetary policy, the justification for using other methods, and the need to have the cooperation from the general public, particularly market operators, to get these things done.
So I was, I observed well yesterday. I was like, what is this actually? What is it? But just like you said, that the challenges are heavy, the problems are heavy. Is this a correct prognosis about Nigeria's economic problems? Is this really a correct prognosis that when you go to the doctor, I said, I'm sick, the doctor has to check what exactly is wrong with you. You tell the doctor, these are the symptoms you're feeling. The symptoms we have in Nigeria is stagflation.
Yes.
That's a resultant effect of inflation and unemployment.
Yes.
We also have, Nigerians are miserable. Misery index is high, underemployment, unemployment, inflation, insecurity challenges, which I know is not the purview of the MPC, but is there. Food inflation is going up. So we have a myriad of challenges. Do you think that this is the right prognosis with all these symptoms that we are feeling?
Yeah, if you want to diagnose the problems of Nigeria, you need a whole thesis. This is just a synopsis highlighting the areas that we need to address quickly and how that will dovetail to other actions that are needed to be taken. Like you mentioned, the stagflation is here. While the GDP numbers are negative and going down, inflation numbers are rising. It's supposed to be the reverse, because as inflation is going up, the GDP is supposed to be picking up substantially to beat up that, to take a markup from those prices that are going up. But now we're in a situation of stagflation. There's also poverty there. There's the health challenge that is there in terms of the casualty from the COVID-19 that has just engulfed the whole world. Then you have the huge unemployment problems there, and then the very low household income in terms of which is dovetailed to the poverty issue I mentioned. Then don't forget about the exchange rate issue pressure that is also in the market. So you have a myriad of issues to address. Also, like I mentioned, the tools to address this, even from both monetary and fiscal side, they also have their scope, and they have their limitations, and the capacity for those tools to operate, particularly for monetary policy tools. You need a very efficient market system, including a sound and very transparent behavior of the market operators. You will see, while addressing issues of exchange rate and even inflation, the governor was mentioning issue of those that take advantage of arbitrages, those that go into speculative, price making processes or mechanism, and also even in the inflation sphere they were looking at. We had issues that had to do with more or less like holding, and that's why the governor was mentioning about the commodity exchange, the need to, and also the central bank is talking of aggregators now, so that farmers, when they produce, the aggregators take them off the farmers, they get their income, do other things that they need to do, but we make sure that the supply is constant in the market. Because when supply shrinks, or deliberately, this is not because of seasonal factors now, when supply shrinks in the market, that's why people take advantage of prices, and that gets to the general public, and you see those prices going up. So if you're able to clear that and get the supply in the market at all times, you see this oligopolistic structure is off the market. So there's no a single seller in the market that can now be a price maker. So everybody has what we call a perfect competition in the market.
Now, you brought me to that issue since you talked about the Nigeria Commodity Exchange, which I saw when the governor mentioned that yesterday. It was a breaking news yesterday that the Central Bank of Nigeria has secured the president's approval to reposition and restructure the Nigerian Commodity Exchange. We saw what went viral some months ago. A lot of Nigerians were not happy that some of the people that are managing this Nigeria Commodity Exchange now, the NCX now, seem not to have a hang of it. And the CBN governor did say yesterday that the CBN owns 60% of it, so it will take advantage of that to restructure the exchange, because the exchange is supposed to also be within the value chain of food supply and all of that. He also talked about the private sector taking advantage, and you talked about the indecent behavior of market operators. Does it mean that perhaps the private sector players within the in the commodity space is not being given a room anymore right now?
They're given a room, but what is important is play according to the rules. You can't operate an economic system without the private sector, particularly given that it's a market, and that market is being run by operators. We're just regulators. We don't play. We're not supposed to play in the market. We only come into the market when the market fails. When market fails, it means the efficiency of the market mechanism to bring about a reasonable price, that is price that is a reflection of demand and supply, is not met. That's when you now intervene to bring that into bear, so that there's no undue advantage taken by either the seller or the buyer. And the point about the commodity exchange is we see this break in transmission of supply, just like you just mentioned. That exchange where farmers, you can even trade warehouse receipts, so you can use that receipt of an expected produce to also have access to funds, and you already have an off-taker or end buyer of your product. So you see a seamless supply in the market, and that is very, very key. So if you have that setup, then your ability to do arbitrage in terms of prices or fixing an exorbitant price, what we call excess profit, will not be there. And so the consumers or the off-takers are not taken advantage of in terms of what is the real price of the commodities that are being supplied. We are trying to address inflation from the supply side, because there's still the understanding that it's a cost push phenomenon in terms of the cost of supply, and even the obstruction, the bottlenecks in getting the supply to the market is so. If you address that supply side, then you need to have the aggregate demand to pick up those on the shelves.
But the CBN has been addressing the supply side with programs like Anchor Boras program, which the governor mentioned yesterday. I'm trying to get the figure exactly. Anchor Boras program, about 554 billion naira being disbursed to over 2.8 million farmers. That is still a supply side mechanism. So going now to structure or to restructure, perhaps having like a new Nigeria Commodity Exchange, because that's what I'll call it. Because the Commodity Exchange was, I think, the Abuja Stock Exchange, was housing the Abuja stockbrokers earlier, and it's passed through quite a whole lot of stress over the years. So with this now, you're also coming out from the supply side. All what the central bank has been doing in the past, is it that it's not working as fast as it would like it to work?
I think I'll put it this way.
Anchor Boras program, commodities, you are intervening in like other commodities, more than 10 now.
I think I'll put it this way. Central bank is doing a lot, but the hole is so big. It's like dropping, how do you say it, something on the ocean. Yes, the hole is so big. The output gap is so big. The potential output gap is so large. The government also mentioned yesterday, particularly during this crisis, the volume of interventions we've done, fiscal and monetary put together, is just about 4.5% of the GDP. He gave an example of other advanced countries that have done over 60%. Even South Africa has done over 10% of their GDP, previous year GDP, on this intervention. In all our activities in the agricultural sector, for example, like rice, is just 12% of the whole. So where is this 82% going to come from? And that's why I said the private sector is also very important. So the central bank will not do direct supply. It's still going to be financing people to do this and pick. And that's why we have to cherry pick. Which one can we do? We can't do everything. We have to look at what are the critical ones. And that's why, one, we face the real sector. Two, we also face the produce that can earn forex, because those are the two areas that the bank needs to achieve its own mandate. FX stability and good value for the naira, and then moderate and stable prices for domestic goods and services. So we need to address that supply side because of also the infrastructural deficit things you see, storage, the entire value chain of that supply system. It's important that we look at it. So from production, including the inputs for production, to packaging, to distribution, to end users, it's good to go through, but you have to select which area you can handle and effectively deliver on that area. If that is completed, then you can now start moving. We can't do everything at the same time.
The question also is how far the central bank can go, also nudged by the MPC, because almost every MPC that meets, and the MPC tells the CBN, okay, you guys are doing well, would want you to do more. So how far can the central bank go in addressing market failure, in addressing systemic failures? You understand what I mean? Like the issue of the commodity exchange now, the issue of perhaps some of the things that government, perhaps on the fiscal side, should be doing, that the monetary policy is taking on.
The much the bank can do depends on the outcome of the economy, the fundamentals, the behavior of the economy. Ordinarily, the much we've injected in the last 12 months wouldn't have happened if not for the COVID. So if we had said in 2018 that, okay, by 2019, the central bank will start, a withdrawal from this system and allow the economy to operate itself, those that have been financed, that should be, rollover, and new people should be taking it, and government should have the banking system or stuff to be doing that. But the outcome of the economic behavior determines how long. We can't just sit back and say, okay, because we have done this for 10 years, no, we won't do that. We're part of the economy. And if the economy is not functioning well, all the central bank mandates will not be achieved. So we can't give a time that this is when the advanced economies that started the quantitative easing 2007, 2000, they're still in it. To date, 2007 is how many years to now? And crises keep coming up. Economic distortions still come, disequilibrium at the balance at the external sector in the domestic economy. So it will be difficult for anybody to say, okay, we're stopping at this time. But the dictates of the economy will determine how far you can go. But you also have to be sure of what capacities do you have, how efficient what you are doing is impacting on the economy, including how is it making you to achieve your own mandate. So while we also see that a lot has gone in, and I know at this MPC meeting, there was extensive discussion on access to these facilities, because there were complaints on, okay, these people did not get it, this is taking long because of some administrative work. And then the bank also is taking steps to automate these processes, using technology, using software, such that sitting in your room, you can apply for these facilities. The necessary inspections will be done, and then you get your facilities in 2-3 days. You don't have to wait 6-7 months when even the farming season or whatever you want to manufacture is already past the due period. So accessibility is also a very key issue that the committee emphasized and recommended that the bank make sure that people get these facilities, farms and households and individuals have access to these credit facilities, all these interventions as quickly as possible so that you can have immediate impact on the economy.
Because hearing what the MPC said yesterday through the mouth of the central bank governor, it seems to me that growth is being targeted and not fighting inflation right now. Because with all these interventions, definitely, the MPC is looking at growth for the Nigerian economy, and inflationary pressure is going up. If you take a look at, I think before during the break, we had inflation numbers, the card from January to December. For 2020, inflation started in January, I think, at around 12%, and is ending at around 15.7%. What it means is that if you take a look at the monies you have in your pocket is depreciating. Yeah. So let's say you have like 100,000 naira. If you take a look at the average of 2020 inflation, I think it should be within the band of 12 to 13%, the average for. So that means your 100,000 naira has depreciated by close to 13,000 naira. Yes. That is what it means. Thank you guys for putting that on the screen. Yes. So how can the central bank also fight that? Because inflation, they say, is not also good. It's a robber.
Yes, yes. It is very, very key, because all the gains we've made in terms of these interventions and stuff, if the inflation numbers keep going up, then it will wipe out the welfare effect of the income earned in that period. Because like you said, the value has depreciated in terms of what you can buy, the purchasing power of that same income. What you had in the beginning of 2020, the same amount cannot get to the same quantity of goods now. And what is important is what the money can buy, not the volume of the money. So it is very, very important that is the core mandate, that is the first mandate of the Central Bank of Nigeria, to keep prices stable and low, so that the suppliers can also be able to supply, and then those that are going to take it off will be able to take it off. But if you look at the inflation trajectory, what are the drivers of this inflation? We looked at food, the component of it, and the core component of it. The things that make the food prices go up now are more structural. The ones that are on the core inflation side, electricity tariff, PMS prices, they're also exogenous to the central bank.
So it's not as a result that there's so much money in the system?
No, you see, I also add
because there's money in the system through intervention.
Yes, so I also had that argument. And how I want you to look at it is the absorptive capacity of the money to take off the economy, to take off those funds. But when the hole is so big and the potential upward gap is still wide, if you look at then the money will not be necessarily inflationary in the short run. If you look at advanced economies, they pumped 10 times what Nigeria has pumped. Their inflation number is going down because those are matured economies. They are almost at full employment, and they are what you call in economics steady state equilibrium. It's up there. If we do our equilibrium, steady state equilibrium at the lower margin, then it will not be optimal. So the point here is, yes, monies are coming into the economy, but it has still not met the demand, space of the economy. So the economy can absorb more of those monies if these fundamentals, structural, infrastructural issues are opened. A good example is see the volume of people looking for credit and the amount of credit in the market. When they started the TCF, the central bank, I remember, had over 400,000 applications. And then you need to process. I'm sure those applications will be in millions now. So the demand is there. So you need to open up all these bottlenecks, all these rigidities in the system, such that this we can access this money, because there's still the space to absorb. So for someone to look at that and say the injections, and central bank has also done studies on this to determine if our interventions have inflationary effect on domestic prices. And we're not saying that yet.
Yeah, because I asked you that same question in November.
Yes.
What you just said, I remember I asked you that question, and I also asked you about this income support from the central bank. As at that time, how do you measure value from those initiatives? And even the central bank governor yesterday was of the view that they can still continue because there's a second wave, and they also advised the government not to look at a total lockdown because it will be inimical to the economy.
I think the most important thing now is refocus and make sure that what is in the system now is efficiently accessible to those that will require them, both households and farms and even corporates, such that the outcome that we expect is maximized. Because if you still see the gap in the system, it is still, the financing deficit is still very large. we have the population, we have the market, but the population should be, income earning population. You don't produce for people that cannot even buy it. So one, as you're driving aggregate demand up in terms of people having jobs and getting salaries and be able to take off the stock you have in the market, you also make sure that the supply coming from the producers is able to meet this demand, so that you have a stable price that is determined by this fundamentals. So Governor also said yesterday that we are likely to do even more, because we still have holes in different places, and even though the projections for growth for 2021 has been jacked up, like you mentioned earlier in your analysis, the world economic outlook has
from
even
the
jacked
IMF.
up. Yes, global output picking up. The projection for Nigeria is also 1.5% in 2021. The domestic, our in-house staff projection, even the MBS, is a lot higher than that. Those will be driven by stimulus packages, by injections into the economy, because the economy is in negative territory. So we need to spend ourselves out of this recession, and then we'll start seeing the economy picking up on itself, and then the natural mechanism, the invisible hand, will start working for other parameters to get in shape.
Let's talk about the one sticky point, which has been FX.
Yeah.
FX, such a sticky point since we saw a rapid depreciation, so to speak, for the Naira. The Naira, I know the central bank governor has said, times without number, please don't judge us with a parallel market. Don't even judge us with it. That it's unfair. Yes. The official rate is going for 379 on your website. The I&E window, yesterday I checked, was at around 394. Yeah. The BDC rate is going for, I think, about 477 or so. Yeah. Why is it seemingly difficult that the Naira is not able to find balance at this point? And what is the central bank looking at this year for perhaps what the fair value of the Naira would be?
Well, one, central bank cannot define.
No, I'm not saying define. Looking at
the fair value of the Naira. The market fundamentals will determine the fair value of the Naira.
I get that, Dr. Mahmud.
Yes.
I get that. But, of course, NAFEX is there, and interventions also there. So I'm just looking at, what is your analysis? Will you look at those numbers every day?
Yeah. I think what we should look at when we're talking of exchange rate is also the same in economics, is demand and supply every time. We should look at the supply side. Before now, you can remember maybe 2013, I think, our reserve was over $60 billion. Yeah, that time BDCs were even getting 100 million, 1 billion. We're doing intervention in the market. And if you look at that period up to 2014, 2015, you saw a long period of stability in the exchange rate market, because there was liquidity, there was supply to meet the demand.
And oil price was high.
And also, yes, and oil price was very, very high. Now, the demand is still there, because we are still largely import dependent. And that's why we're doing this import, a very transparent and effective import substitution now, such that a lot of things because it's the import demand pressure. The demand pressure is so high compared to what is coming in. The sources are four, like the governor mentioned yesterday: the oil revenue from government, the FDIs and FPIs that are coming in, portfolio flows that are coming in, the export side proceeds that you get in, and then the last part of it is this remittances and from diasporans.
He was also vehement on that. The remittances point in terms of the IMTLs and the export, that those that do export should be able to repatriate. So
repatriate, because out of this four, two is gone.
A lot of people are faulting the CBN on that, on both.
Faulted the CBN
on this export proceedings and all of that.
Yeah, because the point is, we have this export stimulation fund by the central bank to finance agri or cash crops that are exportable, so that you can have inflow to boost this supply. Like I mentioned, the first two, oil revenue and FDIs and FPIs, have slowed because of this crisis going on now, the oil price and the global crisis that we're having. Inflows are not coming in, outflows are increasing. So the only two options left is from exports and from diaspora remittances. And measures are now being taken to make remitters, diasporans, have easy access, less cost to transmit these funds back home here. A lot of them have relations here. A lot of them have businesses here. So getting these funds into the economy is very, very key. It's also mentioned, and you've also said it in your past presentations, that the volume of diaspora fund that is being estimated for Nigeria is over $20 billion. And the governor said if you can even bring 5 billion of that into the, how much do we do on the I&E window? If you can bring 5 billion of that yearly into the economy, it will significantly stabilize the prices. And then the second part of it is the operators that I talked about, the arbitrage seekers, and that's why the parallel market is striving for those that want to give briberies, for those that want to use dollar as a store of value. We had cases where people had millions of dollars in the house and had air condition blowing them for years, and so you see all those corrupt practices also having impact on the system. If a BDC segment that we give, I can't remember, $70 or $100 million a week, and a bribe seeker goes there and is looking for $5 million to take off the money. It will not come to normal banks because they will ask you where you get the Naira components, and you have to put those money in account, and tomorrow if investigation is coming, they can trace those funds. So he goes to the market, he's looking for $5 million. Everybody is scrambling for this money. The prices, Naira will be depreciating because the value of the dollar will be going up, and someone analyst will come and say that is the reigning price, and that's why the governor said that is unfair. So we have those pockets of unholy behavior in the market, which we need to also deal with, and that also translates to the export proceed thing, because you see people open letter of credits, taking finances, bringing in their things, go through custom, get all the incentives to export, get central bank financing at less than 10%, and then get this proceed from export and open another account in a foreign currencies and put the proceeds there. So those are behaviors that are not expected to yield the result that we want. So he also emphasized on that and said that anybody that does that, their accounts will be closed, they won't be able to do business in Nigeria, so that it distracts people from doing those kind of things. So we also need that reorientation of which is a general thing in the entire country.
Let's talk about the COVID vaccines, which the governor also mentioned yesterday during the briefing, that COVID will work with the PTF, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, to be able to procure vaccines. He didn't give us an amount, but definitely he's the chairman of COVID. But he did mention yesterday that COVID so far has donated close to 40 billion naira in terms of direct relief for food and what have you through the private sector. Can you expatiate on that, especially as the second wave has come in, and it's also been found that the other variants are here in Nigeria. We see daily increase of COVID-19 cases. The big part of the question is, what kind of recovery should we expect this year? Because the governor also mentioned that a lot of analysts are saying, that the economy will not rebound first quarter, but he just said, okay, let's see how it will go. What kind of recovery are we expecting? Very quickly.
Yes, in the communique, or even in the breaking of the MPC, there were forecasts for 2021. Very positive, strong forecast. Governor was saying cautiously, aggressively optimistic. He used it in different fora. Those projections are based on the fact that COVID-19 related restrictions are abated significantly. The health crisis are thrown to the back significantly. So, and what is going to drive that is vaccine. Even the hope, even for the global economy, that growth will happen in most of the advanced economies based on the fact that vaccine is going to be effective, it's going to be applied to a lot of people, so businesses can come back, people can, man-hour loss can be gained, people will get their employment. So if the central bank or the private sector do not participate in this procurement, because one, we know that the fiscal authority space is extremely lean, and if you want to also achieve your own mandates and objectives, then the bank is just more or less like no-brainer for the bank or the private sector or the COVID group to participate in this. And the governor has made it clear, I'm sure it was consultation with members of the COVID, that they will play a game in this area, so that when you have this procurement, and this, it's not just even getting it, but getting people to be vaccinated, and that those vaccinations are effective to make people take up their employment and business activities to pick up, then you start seeing this supply that we're talking about. So it is very, very key to us or to the monetary authorities in terms of participating in that and getting the projections, crystallized.
Okay. So the kind of recovery?
Well, the numbers.
Should we put a shape to it, because
it's V. It's already clear V. It's already clear V. We don't expect that to be a W. Neither would we expect that to be a K, because the argument has been, yes, the distribution of the recovery could vary because of the inequalities we are seeing in the system, but from what we've seen in the first, second, and third quarter, it's clearly a sharp V, a steep V. So we went down minus 6.1, came up half that, 3.6. Definitely, if we go even the pace we went in the second quarter, in the third quarter, if we do that space in the fourth quarter, we're already out of that, we're already above the zero lower bound of that graph of real GDP growth. So in that projection, Q1 is 2021 is supposed to be positive, even if it's at the minimal level, and that is not unique to Nigeria. It's almost all economies of the world.
Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. I know I've seen a lot of questions here for those that follow us on social media. I think I'll be asking you those questions off camera. When you give me the answers, we'll definitely send it to our viewers. All right, Dr. Mahmud, thank you for joining us today on the show. All right, I've been speaking with Dr. Hassan Mahmud, who is the Director of Monetary Policy Department at the Central Bank of Nigeria, the morning after the MPC meeting, the first for 2021. Thank you all for being part of the show today. Please join us again tomorrow. I am Nancy Nnaji. Be the best you can be the change you want to see. Don't forget to wear a mask. Hello YouTubers, welcome to Moneyline with Nancy TV YouTube channel. This is where we provide you with instructive business directions, processes, and guidance to help you assess the right resources to fund your businesses to withstand every form of internal and external shock. You will find here awesome informative videos on business, entrepreneurship, and lifestyle, just to help you make informed business and financial decisions. Punch the subscribe button and let us drive you through the world of business. Please follow all our social media platforms on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and follow us for latest updates on our website.